Prime Minister Dr. Godwin Friday, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Dr. Kishore Shallow, Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation and Sustainable Development, Honorable Philip Jackson, Minister of Education, Vocational Training, Innovation, Digital Transformation and Information, other members of the Cabinet. Please acknowledge the former Member of Parliament, Sabuto Caesar, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the clergy, Pastor Kian Kane, Dr. Renata Clark, Sub-Regional Coordinator of Caribbean Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, Ms. Sylvine Stevenson Grant, Deputy Program Manager of Agriculture Development at the CARICOM Secretariat. Both are joining us virtually. Permanent secretaries and senior government officials, members of the Board of Trustees of Zero Hunger Trust Fund, Mr. Reuben Robertson, former Chief Agricultural Officer, representative of statutory bodies and state institutions, other development partners, non-governmental organizations, civil societies, ZHTF beneficiaries, students and teachers, specially invited guests, particularly to ZHTF partners, media, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a big moment for the Zero Hunger Trust Fund, and it's both an honor and a meaningful moment for me to stand here and welcome you to the launch of our 10th anniversary activities and our first National Zero Hunger Dialogue. Today's event is important on our calendar because of the years that we have put in, and I had the privilege of saying, while 10 years is significant, we are still young and we are committed to grow even more. We want to reflect on how far we have come, to take stock of what we have built together, and to position ourselves with intention for work that is yet to be realized. We are gathered under the theme, 10 years of impact, positioning for the decade of system transformation. And that theme reflects both pride and responsibility. It speaks to a decade of tangible progress, of programs delivered, partnerships strengthened, and lives impacted. But it also signals clear shift of focus. It acknowledges while we have made meaningful strides, the next phase of our work must go deeper and must be integrated, be transformative in our approach for food and nutrition security for our nation. 10 years ago, the Zero Hunger Trust Fund was established by an Act of Parliament, grounded in a bold and forward-looking vision that no Vincentian should experience hunger, and that food and nutrition security must be treated not as a temporary intervention, but as a central pillar of national development. What began as a legislative commitment has, over the past decade, evolved into a functioning national mechanism, one that has sought to respond to immediate needs while also laying the groundwork for more long-term resilience. Over the 10 years, we have worked alongside government, communities, and partners to translate vision into action. We have strengthened school feeding and nutrition programs, ensure that thousands of students are better supported to learn, grow, and thrive. We have expanded access to food production through our National Food Security Drive, supporting households across all the constituencies with seedlings, seeds, poultry, and technical guidance, helping families not only to access food, but to produce it meaningfully and in sustainable ways. We have invested in young people, creating pathways through agriculture science, internship, and leadership programs that reposition agriculture, and food systems as a space of innovation and opportunity. And we have provided consistent support to vulnerable groups, including older persons, low-income households, and particularly during times and periods of economic strain and climate-related shocks. While these achievements are important, what we have built goes beyond program and outputs. We have built a confidence in national institutions that deliver. We must build trust between communities and systems designed to support them. And perhaps most importantly, we have helped to cultivate a shared national understanding that food security is not a responsibility of one entity. It is a collective responsibility that requires coordination, commitment, and collaboration. At the same time, this moment requires honesty. Despite the progress we have made, the challenges we face remain complex and evolving. Hunger today is not simply about whether food exists. It's about whether it's affordable, whether it's accessible, and whether households have the means and resilience to secure it consistently. It's about livelihoods, about climate vulnerability, about global and regional shocks, and about the structural dynamics of how food is produced, distributed, and consumed. In other words, it is about systems. And it's precisely for this reason that the next decade of our work must be defined differently. If the first 10 years were about building programs and extending reach, the next 10 years must be about strengthening systems and sustaining outcomes. Today, National Zero Hunger Dialogue has been designed with that purpose in mind. It is intended not as a passive forum, but as an active space for engagement, reflection, and alignment. Throughout the day, we will examine evidence emerging from our work, including insights from the 10-year impact report and the experiences of the National Food Security Drive. We will place strong emphasis on youths, including throughout the launch, the National Youth Food System Framework, recognizing that the future of food system depends on leadership, creativity, innovation of the next generation. And importantly, we will create a space for open dialogue, bringing together voices from across sectors to interrogate our approaches, challenge our assumptions, and co-create solutions for the future. We must be clear that in that transformation, we are speaking about delivery not of a single institution. It cannot be achieved by government alone, nor by the Zero Hunger Trust Fund, nor by development partners in isolation. It requires a whole of society approach, one that brings together farmers, fishers, educators, health professionals, policymakers, entrepreneurs, youth, and communities. It requires to think differently about ownership, to embrace collaboration, and to recognize achieving zero hunger is a national development agenda. I would also take the opportunity to acknowledge the partners who have supported us throughout this journey, to our regional agencies, and the testament to them and their support is that they are with us today, FAO and CARICOM, national institutions, community organizations represented here today. Your support is invaluable. And we look ahead, we see even greater opportunities for collaboration, particularly in areas such as climate resilience, innovation, youth development, and systems strengthening. The work ahead will require us to think boldly and to act decisively, and to remain grounded in the needs and reality of the people we serve. As we move through today's program, I encourage us to engage fully, to listen, contribute, and to challenge ourselves to think beyond what is familiar. We should use this space not only to reflect on what has been achieved, but to define what must be done. Let us leave here with a renewed sense of purpose and shared responsibility. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, And the entire team of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund, I extend a warm welcome to you and a sincere thanks for your presence and your partnership. Your engagement today is a testament to collective commitment that exists across this country in advancing food and nutrition security. Let us use this moment wisely. Let us set forward the foundation for a decade ahead, and let us continue to work to build St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where zero hunger is not an aspiration, but a reality. Thank you.
Dr. the Honorable Godwin Friday, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Ministers of Government, Dr. Renata Clark, FAO Sub-Regional Coordinator for the Caribbean, Ms. Safia Ornbeek, Director and CEO, Zero Hunger Trust Fund, distinguished representatives of regional and international partner institutions, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good morning. Today's engagement is both timely and significant. Across the Caribbean community, food and nutrition security remains a central pillar of our development agenda. And as small island developing states, we continue to face structural challenges, including high food import dependence, climate-related shocks, and disruptions to global supply chains that affect the availability and affordability of food. In this context, the experience of St. Vincent and the Grenadines stands out as both relevant and instructive. Over the past decade, the Zero Hunger Trust Fund has demonstrated what is possible when food security is approached in a coordinated and systems-based way. At the regional level, this aligns closely with CARICOM's Vision 25 by 2025 plus 5 initiative, through which heads of government have reaffirmed their commitment to reducing the region's food imports bill and strengthening agri-food systems. The initiative seeks to accelerate production, strengthen value chains, and build resilience across member states. So what we see in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, particularly through the National Food Security Drive, is a practical demonstration of how these regional priorities can in fact be translated into tangible results. The experience highlights a critical point that food systems transformation in the Caribbean must begin at the household and community level and be supported by strong institutions and coordinated policy frameworks. So it also reinforces that impact is greatest where there is sustained national commitment, community engagement, as well as integrated approaches across sectors. The experience of St. Vincent and the Grenadines demonstrates that food systems transformation in the Caribbean is not only theoretical, it is achievable, it's practical, and already underway. The priority for the region now is to ensure that these gains are not isolated, but are systematically scaled, they're supported and sustained across all member states. The CARICOM Secretariat commends the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Zero Hunger Trust Fund for their leadership over the past decade. We also acknowledge the contributions of development partners and communities who continue to support this work. CARICOM remains committed to supporting member states as we advance a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable regional food system. Thank you.
Honorable Prime Minister Godwin Friday, honorable ministers, members of Parliament, distinguished representatives of the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, esteemed members of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund Board, representatives of the CARICOM Secretariat, partners from civil society and the private sector, representatives of international and regional organizations, youth delegates, farmers, community leaders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. You know, I'm sorry I'm not with you, but it was really interesting. I could actually hear and feel the emotion in the voice of the director of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund. It demonstrates the meaning of the moment. It is an honor and a privilege for the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations to be joining you today in marking this significant milestone, 10 years of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund. We gather not merely to commemorate the passage of time. We gather, but to celebrate a decade of leadership, commitment, and measurable impact in advancing food security, nutrition, and resilience across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. When the Zero Hunger Trust Fund was established in 2016 through an act of Parliament, it represented a bold and forward-looking decision by the government. By creating an independent mechanism that could receive private sector funding, which could then be channeled to support programs aimed at eliminating hunger, the country signaled its commitment to social justice within a sustainable and a long-term institutional framework. Over the past decade, that bold decision has paid remarkable dividends. Today, the Zero Hunger Trust Fund stands as one of the most innovative and effective mechanisms of its kind in the Caribbean region, inspiring action further afield in the Caribbean. Recent data suggests that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is among the countries in the region with the highest cost of a healthy diet. This explains persistent nutrition challenges. Over 1/3 of the adult population is living with obesity. Anemia remains prevalent among women of reproductive age. These realities underscore a pressing truth that food insecurity and malnutrition continue to threaten the well-being, the productivity, and the potential of many Vincentian households. This is precisely why the Zero Hunger Trust Fund is indispensable. It has demonstrated to be a mechanism that brings new resources and works effectively with other national and non-governmental institutions to improve food security. One of the defining characteristics of the fund has been its strong collaboration with key ministries, particularly the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Health. In our view, this interministerial collaboration must remain a cornerstone of the fund's work, enabling it to effectively support essential components of the government's development agenda. Nowhere is this more evident than in the transformation of the National School Feeding Program. FAO applauds the hard work of the fund, particularly in working with those government agencies to expand the program to cover all students in primary school and to expand the program involving all students in primary school and to engage with the local food production systems. This is critical not only to improve children's nourishment and learning outcomes, but also to create reliable markets and livelihood opportunities for local communities. It stands as a powerful example of how well-coordinated public policy can simultaneously improve diets, strengthen rural economies, and build national food sovereignty. The fund has also played a catalytic role in linking agriculture to education. The agricultural science program, now present in multiple secondary schools, is cultivating the next generation of farmers, agri-innovators, and food systems leaders. FAO is proud to have been a partner in this journey from the fund's early conceptualization and design through years of technical cooperation in nutrition, climate-resilient agriculture, school feedings, youth engagement, and parliamentary support. FAO has been honored to contribute to this nationally driven transformation, and our commitment remains steadfast. As we look ahead, today represents not merely a celebration, but as we heard earlier this morning, it's a moment for careful reflection, renewal, and recommitment. The next decade will be marked by increasing climate shocks and may be marked by continued expanded global volatility. These factors undoubtedly create greater challenges for strengthened food security. But on the other hand, ongoing national initiatives, such as the National Youth Food Systems Framework and the Youth in Agriculture Network, these initiatives promise to place young Vincentians at the heart of agri-food systems innovation and leadership, that we're not only forward-looking, we are forward-moving. FAO stands ready to deepen its partnership in this next phase, bringing technical expertise, data and evidence, and capacity building to support the government's vision of a hunger-free, nutritious, resilient, and sustainable St. Vincent and the Grenadines. On behalf of FAO, I extend heartfelt congratulations to the Zero Hunger Trust Fund on 10 years of impactful service to the people of this nation. Thank you.
Thank you so very much to Dr. Clark and Ms. Stevenson Grant, our regional partners. Thanks for their insightful remarks and continued partnership in strengthening food security here, not only in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but definitely across the region. I know many of you might know this old story, but here I go again. You know, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, you feed him for what? A lifetime. And this is exactly what Zero Hunger Trust Fund is doing. And they're doing it layer by layer, definitely starting at the home, going out to the community. As they say, you know, charity begins at home, and that's the best place to learn these things. So we definitely want to keep the program going and definitely want to put a spotlight on the youth that are coming up and definitely going to be the ones championing the cause for food security going forward. These are two schools that have been adopted by the Zero Hunger Trust Fund. I learned that today. I was today years old when I found that out. So the Primary School Performing Arts Festivals, this is the best dance. I'm very excited to see. And we're going to open up the floor for the Gourmet Methodist School as they dance to I Look to You by Whitney Houston. I'm now going to call on the same primary school performing arts festival's best female vocalist. I Choose You by Alyssa Cara.
All of my life, I thought I was right, looking for something new. Stuck in my ways like old-fashioned days, but all the roads led me to you. The house that you live in don't make it a home, but feeling lonely don't mean you're alone. People in life, they'll come and they'll leave, but if I had a choice, I know where I would be. Through the lows and the highs, I will stay by your side. There's no need for goodbyes. Now I'm seeing the light when the sky turns so gray and there's nothing to say. At the end of the day, I choose you. Now I found the strength to make a change and look at the magic I found. No matter the name or where you came from, 'cause no one has much figured out. In the world, you found where I feel I belong, and I know you'll be there with wide open arms. Through the lows and the highs, I will stay by your side. There's no need for goodbye. Now I'm seeing the light when the skies are so gray and there's nothing to say. At the end of the day, I choose you. I choose you. Through the lows and the highs, I will stay by your side. There's no need for goodbyes. Now I'm seeing the light. Through the lows and the highs, I will stay by your side. There's no need for goodbyes. Now I'm seeing the light. When the skies are so gray and there's nothing to say. At the end of the day, I choose you. Oh, I choose you. I choose you.
Thank you very much, Shannon. And thank you, Renee, for that rendition. I Choose You, and our two young dancers. Let me recognize our esteemed Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Godwin Friday, my parliamentary and cabinet colleague, Dr. Kishore Shallow, Minister of Tourism. I'd also like to recognize the CEO of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund, Safia Hornbeek, all the other dignitaries. Permit me to recognize two persons from Marikwa. You know, politics is 24/7, right? Yes. So, Fire Empress, nice to see you. And Mr. Robertson, former Chief Agricultural Officer. And in that vein, I'd like to also recognize the former Minister of Agriculture and Member of Parliament, Saboto Caesar. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. we hear about Zero Hunger Trust Fund. Now, I like to tell you that of all the persons in this room, I was Zero Hunger Trust Fund's closest neighbor. My office was just one door away from the CEO. First of all, Mrs. Laura Anthony Brown, and then there was an interim person in charge, and then now Sophia. And they both know that there were numerous visits to their offices discussing, development, because development has always been big on my mind. And agriculture, I grew up in an agricultural home, farming, tying out goats, digging carrots, washing it in the river. That was part of my upbringing. So I spent a lot of time interacting with Zero Hunger Trust Fund. As a matter of fact, some of my staff are even here in Zero Hunger Trust Fund uniform. That just underscores the importance of collaboration and teamwork in addressing the challenges of development and the important aspect of nutrition and food security. And it is in that spirit that we are celebrating 10 years of systems working together, building the foundation for food and nutrition security in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I like your theme. I want to congratulate you, Mrs. Hornbeek, for your theme, because while it celebrates the last 10 years, it puts out a challenge to this new administration for the next 10 years, which is about systems transformation for sustaining food and nutrition security. And I used to be a biologist, so structure and function go together. Your skeletal system is the way it is because it needs to support your body in an upright position. That upright position allowed you to have a very advantageous view of the world, and from that advantageous view, you're able to form your concept of reality and your hierarchical position in nature. So structure is always important to function. And I think that is what was behind the framers of the theme. Is like, how do we create the sort of structure to give sustainable functionality to the issue of food and nutrition security? And I dare say that as a systems thinker myself, I am committed, together with my colleagues and all stakeholders, to bring the best of our minds, our hearts, and our talents, and our ambitions, quite importantly, ambitions together to make sure that we have transformative systems that lead to sustainability. Now, I wouldn't be the Minister of Education if I don't recognize some of the other schools present here. So we have the Gummy Methodist School, just give them a round of applause as I mentioned the name. The Lomans Windward Primary School, the Barley Secondary School, and the North Union Secondary School. Now you notice North Union is known for land-based agriculture, right? And Barley for sea-based agriculture, and some land too. So important, I don't know if that was the intention, but it brought together nicely the importance of the blue economy, which is a central pillar of our administration's economic thrust, together with agriculture, which is a second important pillar. So I see the systems aligning quite well, and I'm very happy for that. Now, on the question of food security and nutrition security in particular, and education, now it has been already established as a biologist. Again, I recall my training. A baby that is well breastfed normally, generally, tends to do very well at school. You know the reason why? in that breast milk are important fats. Those fats are foundational in the structure of your nerve cells. There's something that is called the myelin sheath that covers nerve cells. And these myelin sheath that covers your nerve cells are responsible for the transmission of nervous impulses. So the quality of your myelin sheath around your nerve cells is directly, and I see our nutritionist here and she's smiling. Thank you so much for confirmation. It's yes, those myelin sheaths is responsible for the rapidity of nervous transmission. So it's old people just knew that you have to breastfeed your baby and as long as you can, but they didn't know the science. But the science is right there, the fats in the myelin sheath. And also, you need proper glucose too. The brain uses more glucose sometimes than your muscle. And you know that. Those of you who do excessive mental activities studying, you feel tired and you didn't even walk 2 steps, but you're really tired. So nutrition is important, critical to our human development endeavors. And so it is in this context that we really celebrate the Zero Hunger Trust Fund and all of their efforts. And you know what I like about it? It takes a two-pronged approach. One, and I know this quite well, the social transfers that go to vulnerable families and so on. That is a must. You have to really take care of vulnerable families and so on until they can really do better with our help. But it also has that other element about self-help and building capacity. And I know all too well when those chickens were being given out and all the plants and so on, that office became like a real, like almost traffic jam sometimes. And everybody would pitch in, including myself sometimes, to help to get the work done. So I really applaud this dual approach. The social transfers, which we have to keep in place, but developing capacity for your own backyard garden and your own school garden. And I want us to take this seriously, you know. One of the best requests I've had so far as a politician, and I get lots of requests for all sorts of things. A young man came to me, Jackson, Minister, I want a goat. I said, wow. I said, well, listen, you will get your goat. I said, as soon as you find one, I'll pay for it. You know why? Because that goat is going to multiply and multiply, and we're going to be tough and pray the last in it, so your goat will be safe. Your goat will be safe. But you know, it brings me back to the important thing that when we were kids, we had to get up early in the morning after family worship. You had to go tie out your goat. After your goat is safe, you raid somebody plumber's tree, you come back home, you bathe, you get ready for school. Afternoons, you go to the lands, you help weeding, washing, digging carrots, washing it, bring it back, take it to the market. Your mother take it to the market right down there at the buying depot at government supermarket at the time. That, Chief, that was a guaranteed market. We didn't have to worry about anything, and we're working on that again because a stable, predictable market gives incentive for farmers to just go and plant. Go and plant. Confidence. You could almost close your eye and go and do what you have to do because you know, book it show, you're going to get them sold. And that is exactly what we're trying to build. So we're talking about transformation, and that's a commitment of this government. So, in closing, the global issue of hunger and food insecurity has shown an alarming increase since 2015. That's what the statistics says. But there's some factors affecting it. Pandemics, climate change, and conflicts. Right now, there's a conflict in the Middle East. Nobody knows how it's going to end. And our Prime Minister, in his astute wisdom, says, you know, we have to be proactive. So he set up the National Cost of Living Task Force with critical stakeholders and say, Let's put our best of our minds together and the networks together so that we can plan properly to address this coming crisis. And I just want to congratulate that effort and wish all the members of the task force all the best. I want to go a bit further. All of those persons who have participated in Zero Hunger, you would have learned lessons, best practices, what works, what doesn't work, how to keep the chicken alive longer so that they can get to the point of maturity, and if they're laying eggs, to lay eggs. Because, sometimes the mortality rate can be high. Why don't we establish a community of practice using the technology where all of the beneficiaries can come together and share the best of the resources? That is part of the systemic transformation that needs to happen. And I would dare say, we have to take this approach going forward to build a system, make sure all of the stakeholders identify, come together with a big vision of saying, listen, for the next 10 years, working together with the government, working together with the Zero Hunger Trust Fund team, let us work and make sure we do our part to make sure the gardens are working, they get the sort of expertise they need, they get the sort of inputs, and let's take full ownership of this thing. In other words, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, let's make food security a big thing, a community thing, a community effort. Let's get excited about it. Let's get our goats to the youths. Let's get them developing their own vegetable patch. It must become an obsession and a passion. And that is what is going to create the sort of transformation that we need. And don't forget the other institutions and that the church. And there are two Adventist pastors here. I grew up in the Adventist church. There was something we call investment. I don't know if you do it enough. But every 13th Sabbath, you have to do what they call an investment. In other words, whether you have chickens or you plant bananas. And at the end of the 13 weeks, you have investment Sabbath. You would come and you bring your money that you made from your investment and donate it to charity or whatever the church work. So there's a lot of knowledge in the community about these things, and we have to bring the right stakeholders together with a passion and an obsession to make this thing an everyday part of our Vinci experience. So I want to congratulate you on the 10th anniversary and invite everyone for the next 10 years working together with your government to make food and nutrition security a big thing that is sustainable, benefiting entire population. Thank you very much and have a good day.
I'm going to welcome Fire Empress to impress us with her vocal skills with a performance. So from one daughter of Mariquar to another.
Good morning, everybody. I feel good this morning. I feel good because I see people in the room that I literally knew as a child. And let me say good morning to Mr. I wonder why you have your head down. Good morning, Mr. Jackson. Do you remember when I was 10? Okay. I just had to make sure you all know he remembered when I was 10. I am a cultural ambassador. I sing every genre, which means I do the raga, I do the calypso. This morning, I feel like I have a message to send. So I will take calypso. I don't know what song he's bringing first, but let's see. I have a job of keeping this 15 minutes. Let's see if I could do that. Okay. Right? Some say it's natural, organic yet tribal, elemental, naked, raw and animal, enchanting and rhythmic, bewitch you like magic, airy and so mystic. Pulse of our music, from the belly of the Congo we came. fearless is my name. Some say your skin darker than night. Mere mortal shiver at her sight. The red for the melanin, shade and color of our skin. Some are terrified, of course, by the texture and the gloss, the kinkiness of your hair, all the ethnic clothes we wear, the respect you see, the African in me. My identity, guides my destiny, natural majesty, the African in me. So though they call me black, stronger years are coming back. Look out, here we come, children of the drum. Behold the power of the African rhythm. I want you to listen very carefully to the lyrics, because most times when you hear calypso, you don't really listen to the lyrics, you look at everything else, right? So, never cosmetic, plastic or synthetic, of natural fabric, born and torn, forged from our spirit. Watch how your feet moving to the beat, just grooving. 1,000 jumbies dancing carefully to the drama of good skin. And yes, calypso is my song, woven and woven with precon. Comfort from sin slavery days. One drop and they fall back so amazed. They still for the melanin, shade and color of our skin. Some are terrified, of course, by the texture and the gloss, the kinkiness of your hair, all the ethnic clothes we wear, the respect you see, the African in me. My identity guides my destiny, natural majesty, the African in me. Don't call me no banshee, I come with what to see. Look out, here we come, children of the drum. Behold the power of the African rhythm. Can you take that one down for me now? Thank you. Nice. Give it the next song. So I'm getting a clap. Hey. One of the hardest things to do is sing on a morning, but I'm going to try my best. African people have a saying, before your picnic start disobeying, it takes a village to raise a child. Long time parents. In this crazy modern times, all that wisdom stop. To lash your child now is a crime. They could lock you up. But what Frederick Douglass says, I now comprehend. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. So, what's wrong with Caribbean youths? That's the modern crime. But like we afraid to face the truth, we still live in a lie. It takes a village to raise a child, the African proverb says. But we make them, then neglect them for days and months and years. A child who only knows neglect will grow to hate and disrespect. And that is why the next African saying wants it wants. A child who's not embraced by the village will learn to wreck, to loot and to pillage, and will burn it down just to feel it's warm. A child who's not embraced by the village will grow up hateful and damaged, and will burn it down just to feel it's warm. Hey. I'm gonna do one more verse in this. Today we bright and so clever, all them ancient wisdom we sever, them African proverbs we long forget. But the reason our children now straying, the role that the village was playing, now taken by Facebook and internet. Big threat in this digital circus. It seems we are stuck. Our children now focus on Instagram and TikTok. No more community spirit, even family time long gone. Every hour our children's digits on an iPhone or Samsung. So what's wrong with Caribbean youths? All leaders now cry. But like we're afraid to face the truth, we still living a lie. It takes a village to raise a child, the African proverb says. But we let social media raise them for days and months and years. The price of all this past neglect is a rising disconnect. And that is why the African saying once it wants. A child who's not embraced by the village will grow up hateful and savage and will burn it down just to feel its warmth. A child who's not embraced by the village will grow up hateful and damaged and will burn it down just to feel its warmth. And that is why I say without any guile, if you want to bring them back mile by mile, if you want to replace the frown with a smile, it's time to reach out, time to reconcile. Thank you. So like I say, not all calypsos are bad. So look out for me, 2026. Give me one more. I want to see one hand like that. If you're proud to be a Vincentian, yeah? That's right. Start to wave, start to whine, start to jump. Vincy masha me non-stop. No sweeter place like Vincy on earth. St. Vincent, my homeland of my birth. Vincentians of every creed and race, displaying themselves for Carnival Day. Hey, Vincy mass in my land, masqueraders inside the band, jumping up to a soca beat. Bishop job coming down through the streets. It don't matter where you come from, represent for St. Vincent strong. Put a rock show where you belong, then join with me and come sing this song. Oh, you know this one? What? Somebody say, whoa, whoa, I am a Vincy, a true Vincy. Becky with 10 days are jumping up, 10 days are waving up, 10 days are winding up. Vincy master me non-stop. 10 days are jumping up, 10 days are waving up, 10 days are winding up. From St. Vincent and the Grenadines, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shauna. I'll try and get one up on you. I don't know, have you all seen Shauna at a party? Oh, yeah. You have, right, Ransom? And I could tell you that during Fire Empress Performance Day, I look at her and I see any minute now she was ready to start doing her thing. Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Friday, my cabinet colleagues, Minister Jackson, and I want to recognize, she sneaked into the room a while ago, Minister Chevron John. Happy to see you. Other distinguished guests, partners, colleagues, including permanent secretaries present, former Minister of Agriculture, friends, I see students. Always happy to see students at these sort of forums. So good morning, special good morning to you. But to each and every one, the media included, who made the effort to be here with us this morning, really pleasant good morning to each and every one of you. It is with a deep sense of purpose that I join you here today to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund. This milestone is significant. It is indeed special. It is a celebration of lives touched, communities strengthened, and systems transformed in what is really a collective pursuit of food security and nutrition for all. And over the past decade, the Zero Hunger Trust Fund has served as a catalyst for meaningful and real change. Through partnerships across government, civil society, the private sector, and the youth, we can't forget them, we have witnessed tangible progress. This achievement demonstrates the power of collaboration and really a shared vision for a hunger-free nation, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I think it was at the media launch director that I made reference to my Prime Minister in his absence, where he said he often speaks about government as a baton. Right, PM? And we spoke very confidently that this program, the Zero Hunger Trust Fund, and in politics, as Minister Jackson says, 24 hours. But I think we'll all agree that despite the differences of the political parties in St. Vincent and Grenadines over the years, the Zero Hunger Trust Fund is one that we have all agreed on and support. And so, as I look at the former Minister of Agriculture, who would have invested his time and effort in getting this program to be as successful as it is now, I could see the comfort that he sits there knowing that the program remains in capable hands. And so we will continue the great work established over the last 10 years, and we guarantee you that some may say 20, but at least the next 10 years, we will see that this program continues to grow. Yet, as we celebrate the accomplishments of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund, we are reminded that the work ahead requires bold thinking and decisive action. This reality, I'm sure, inspired the director and her team to embark on, quote unquote, or let me quote here now, start the quote, positioning for the decade of system transformation, end of quote. This calls upon each and every one of us to think or rethink and strengthen the frameworks for food security. And might I inject at this point that we must embrace the innovation and the technologies available to us. We must invest in sustainable production and ensure that policies, programs, and partnerships are inclusive, adaptive, and impactful. As we gather as government leaders, community actors, youth representatives, schools, producers, and all the stakeholders, and as today we pause to celebrate this great achievement of 10 years anniversary, let us channel some energies, some of our energy and thoughts to what must be done to accelerate progress of this magnificent program. The next decade demands that we move beyond individual interventions and towards integrated, system-wide solutions that leave absolutely no one behind. And it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge the commitment of all the stakeholders over the years. Chair of boards, board members, and the entire community, previous government, as I mentioned, and all those who have played a critical part in getting us to this stage. I recognize your contribution. Every single one who has demonstrated in one way or the other support, and we do have regional and international partners as well, so I recognize their input also. The dedication of each, the expertise and passion are the foundation upon which our future successes will be built. and I promise to be brief because the PM is about to give his featured address. So I conclude by echoing the words of Nobel Peace Prize awardee Norman Ornis Borlaug, the US agronomist. And he said that food is the moral right of all who are born in this world. Let me repeat. Food is the moral right of all who are born into this world. Every man, every woman, every boy and girl, it is your moral right to have access to food. And I want us all, in all our policy making, in all our collaborations to strengthen this program, remember that fundamental basis that we are going to operate on. And I say here now, let us recommit to the shared mission of ending hunger. Let us recommit to building a food system that nourishes every single Vincentian. And together, let this commitment be not only for today and tomorrow, but for future generations to come. I thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I acknowledge my esteemed cabinet colleagues, the Minister of Tourism and the Minister of Education, and in the audience we have the Honorable Chevron John, Minister John. We have other invited guests. I want to acknowledge as well the CEO of this program, Miss Beek Hornbeek, I got it wrong. Sophia Beek Hornbeek, thank you so much for your invitation to be here. I want to acknowledge as well in the audience the Honorable former Minister of Agriculture, former parliamentary colleague, the Honorable Sabota Caesar. We have also in the audience the students from several schools, the wonderful performances that we heard this morning from the singers, the dancers, all put us in a good mood to continue not just with the opening session here this morning, but with the important work that I see that you have outlined in the program for the rest of the day. The Zero Hunger Trust Fund, as my colleague said, the Minister of Tourism, is something that it's like what we call, it's something everybody can agree on. Of course, nobody wants to see hunger existing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, or any country for that matter. We have had over the past decade the work of the team in the Zero Hunger Trust Fund has been to try to eliminate poverty in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So by that purpose, we in a sense accepting that we have failed when it comes to providing the nutritional needs for our people. That is why the fund exists. So when we look at the theme of the fund, the transformation that I consider is one where the objective, the purpose of the fund is transformed from one of eliminating hunger in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to one of saying, we have arrived at this point. Now it's our duty to sustain in this country a situation where no one goes to bed hungry. So success over the next decade will be achieving that objective of saying in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have dealt with, we have conquered the two great sins, quite frankly, in our society of poverty and hunger in this day and age. And that the Zero Hunger Trust Fund has been a part of that and now has a duty, a new mandate to ensure that we don't slip backwards. Because we know that progress is made by human effort. It's made by planning, it's made by teamwork, it's made by all the things that we put into creating it and sustaining it. But it's not automatic, it's not going to stay there by itself. We can regress. So we want to ensure that that never happens in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. For the 10 years since Parliament made a commitment that the Zero Hunger Trust Fund would be a part of our social landscape to seek to provide service to ensure that no person in this country should go hungry. That food security would not be a luxury. It would not be empty political slogans or talking points, but that it would be a lived reality for our people. We know in the Zero Hunger Trust Fund that that commitment is your raison d'etre. Today, we gather to honor what that commitment has produced. Over 2 million meals have been served to our school children. Over 4,000 students have benefited from the feeding program. Over 800 elderly persons have benefited from nutritional support. 75 young people have been placed in agricultural internships. These are not just dry statistics. They are children who were not hungry when they sat down to learn in the classroom. They are farmers who did not abandon their lands but continued in difficult circumstances to cultivate. They are the elderly Vincentians whose poverty was seen and were fed. They were fed. But we have a lot more to do. I congratulate the board, the management and staff of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund, and every partner. You've seen there are many, and volunteers and community members who made it a decade of impact. When my government took office late last year, we inherited a country of extraordinary potential, but also one that has real challenges and serious obstacles to overcome. In the 2026 budget address, we presented a stark finding that more than 1 in every 3 Vincentians is living in poverty, or is only one natural disaster, one missed paycheck. If you were paying attention, you know I said these things in the budget address. One missed paycheck, one economic shock away from falling into poverty. We import an estimated 80% of what we consume. That means that when global prices rise, Vincentian households must absorb the shock. In other words, external inflation are imported here into St. Vincent and the Grenadines. When fuel costs increase, Vincentian families feel it. When groceries, the prices increase, we see it on the supermarket shelves. When a hurricane destroys a season's harvest, as Hurricane Beryl did in 2024, that is not an abstraction. It's not theoretical. It is a mother trying to feed her children with a market that has no fresh produce. Indeed, even when there are fresh produce, there is fresh produce in the market. Very often we can't afford them. I remember some time ago, before I was in this office, a woman came to see me and she needed some assistance to purchase medication. She said that she was suffering from diabetes, as so many of our people do, hypertension, and the doctor had prescribed that she eats vegetables. But she wanted to buy the medication because they were cheaper. She couldn't afford the preventive care of fresh vegetables. I'll say a little bit more about that as we go on. We all face, against the backdrop of climate change, rising prices internationally, we all face these challenges together. I don't raise these issues to dampen our celebration today. I raise them because food security, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is inseparable from employment or unemployment, from economic resilience or lack thereof, from the welfare of our children and our elderly, and from the long-term sustainability of how we grow, distribute, and consume our food. This is why the trust fund exists. And over the next decade, we must become more urgent and more impactful, so that at the end of it we can say we've achieved our objective. The plan can't be that the trust fund goes on in perpetuity with that mission. To do so means that we will have failed. My government came to office with a clear mandate to get St. Vincent and the Grenadines working, that it does so for all the people throughout the country, in every sector of the economy. And agriculture is central to that mandate. We see agriculture not as a legacy industry that we are managing its decline. Rather, it is one of the 4 pillars of our economic strategy, and which we intend to build a more diversified, more resilient, more prosperous economy, alongside tourism, and we have the minister here. The blue economy, which we all know is fishing, but it's more than that. The yachting industry, the whole marina, these are the things we have identified. And also the new economy. Put another way, we intend not just to cope or to react to crises. We intend to build our economy so that we don't always have to beg and to borrow for everything that we use. And we can do it. In February, in my budget presentation in the Parliament, I made a commitment to the farming community directly. That our government will restore confidence in the agricultural sector. And you heard Minister Jackson speak about it. This means tackling predial larceny, where people thieving people, animals, and crops, and selling them. And people buy them for half price, knowing that they thief them, and they still buy them and they sell them over in the market. I visited a farmer some time ago in Montreal area. And she showed me, I was just walking by. She said, Friday, come let me show you. We go down in the bottom of a farm. And they had an area about this size here where they had taken out all of the dasheen out of the ground. That was on a Wednesday, I believe. And they said they're going to sell that probably Thursday or Friday in the market. And she said, that is what they take this week. Next week, they're probably coming for the next side. And she did everything she could to try to protect her crops, but people were still stealing it, and the police gave no recourse. So she even put a dog in the field to try to say, well, you scare people off. They poisoned the dog. That's a true story. So we want to re-establish, rebuild, and revitalize the agricultural sector. We will deal with predial larceny. But it means more than that. It means investing in the infrastructure, in water systems to improve irrigation and create more productive farming techniques that we can employ here. It means improving and guaranteeing market access. As my colleague says, if the farmers know there's a market, they will grow. They're rational like everybody else. You're not going to plant something and you know, but at the end of the day, 6 months later when you reap, you don't know if you could sell it for the cost of production. And so putting these systems in place are essential to maintain a vibrant agricultural sector. We also know that it means creating extension services and technical support, because these are the primary drivers of outcome in the agricultural sector. We focus on this because this is essential to creating food security. We've also, as a government, been looking to ways immediately to ease what we call the cost of living crisis, which again threatens with the war that is going on in the Middle East that seems to have no end in sight. So we received a grant of $8 billion from the Republic of China and Taiwan to strengthen social support, and that we have already passed on. We've already passed on to struggling families. We are also advancing with a $50 million climate resilience-based water infrastructure initiative. This is something that's being headed by 5Cs, an organization part of CARICOM, which we are going to accelerate the advancement of that project. And the intention is to create water resilience throughout the Grenadines, and we're experiencing serious hardship now, through desalination, to improve storage facilities here on the mainland so that we can withstand periods of drought and lean rainfall as we're experiencing now. And this project will help also with our farming to make it more productive. None of this happens in isolation. All of it connects ultimately to the question of whether the insentient child goes to bed hungry or wakes hungry. Nothing pains me more than to consider a situation where a family awakes in the morning, and a mother, and it's usually a mother. You look in the kitchen and you can't find something to give your children to go to school. That happens far too much in this country. For most people, they look in the fridge and they say, well, I don't want that, I want this, I'll take that. The fridge don't produce those things. You have to buy them. People have to put them. And too many people are not able to do that. And so the work that you do at the Zero Hunger Trust Fund is critical to helping us to deal with this serious social problem. So we're going to ensure that we continue to work so that no child goes to bed hungry, goes to school hungry, that the elderly persons, that they have access to nutritious meals so they can live with dignity, that our farmers have the tools, they have the markets and the confidence to keep producing. I am happy to see that in the Zero Hunger Trust Fund, that they're thinking ahead. And some of the initiatives that I would wish to see executed, completed. We said the next decade, but I'm saying within the next 5 years. The Zero Hunger Trust Fund, it must be formally integrated into our national social protection and food security operations. Can't be a project isolated by itself. My government will work with the fund to embed its operations within the broader policy frameworks of agriculture, social protection, education, and economic development. Second, we must close the gap between production and markets for farmers. A channel linking household producers, farmers, schools, hotels, restaurants, and retailers. It's not hard to do. All it takes is to recognize the need for such, to have the political will to do it, and to mobilize the human resources, the collaboration, the structure that's necessary to get it done. We have the political will. I give you that commitment. And we are committed to building a broad-based partnership to build that coordination that is necessary to move the process forward. Third, the school feeding program and the school gardens programs must be strengthened and made permanent. When students plant, harvest, and eat food that they grow in their own gardens, they are not just being fed. They are learning to see agriculture as a productive activity, as a potential profession. They know where food comes from. They don't come from a shelf in the supermarket only. That is an investment that pays dividends for a generation. I want to say this. Well, let me go to the fifth point first, and then I'll summarize. Fifth, I would like to see more emphasis being placed on backyard gardening. Corn and peas, when I grew up, that was a staple. In the rainy season, everybody had to pen their chickens because it was socially unacceptable. Not only that, it caused real ruction in the village. If you plant your corn and peas and you come back and somebody chicken scrabble them out. That's what we used to call it. In the same way, when you plant and your animals go and somebody, I saw a video the other day when a project that one of the priests in the Catholic Church was doing, and he was complaining that, animals went and ate all the potato they planted. But anyway, I would like to see more emphasis being placed on backyard gardening, that the Ministry of Agriculture, its mission has always been, you focus on banana first, and you had the extension officers and so forth, and they produce to export without real care and attention being placed on production in general, whether it's for market or for own personal use. That person who said that she couldn't afford the vegetables that she should have eaten instead of just relying on the medication, 20, 30 years ago would have been growing it herself. Most kids here think that pigeon peas comes from a can. When I left this country many years ago, you could not find pigeon peas on the shelf. You grew it, and that was it. Now it's a primal way of having pigeon peas. So, the Ministry of Agriculture, and I'm giving notice here, the minister not here, has to use its vast expertise. Some of the best trained people in the public service work in the Ministry of Agriculture. So they have to turn their attention to ensure that backyard gardening, where by that I mean subsistence gardening for each household who wants to do it, that the support is there to do it. I don't want to hear when somebody complains to the Ministry of Agriculture and says, listen, my papaya are dying and so on. They say, yeah, there's a problem we have. And then they leave it at that. Or in Beckwith where the plums, that's so many people here in the plum season, everybody wants to get Beckwith plums. Well, sometimes they get infected and so on. You want to complain to the ministry, they should say, well, listen, we recognize the problem, we'll come. Send somebody down to look at it and we'll find ways to solve it. It's part of nutrition. Plums are rich in vitamin C. That's a Philip. You're the biologist. So that's something that we'll task the Ministry of Agriculture to do much more rigorously as part of the core mission. And this is the point that I want to make. Food security doesn't come from stockpiling cans of corned beef, cooking oil, macaroni. It doesn't come from creating a warehouse with those things or having well-stocked shelves in the supermarkets. Food security comes from producing it ourselves, whether it's on large farms for exports or in the backyard gardens or in the schools. I was so proud when a little school in Beckwith, I give them a little plug because they did well. The Lobe School, that they started their backyard gardening. And they invited me down to see because they're so proud of it. And then they went in the competition and they won the national competition. And then the hurricane came, of course, and destroyed everything. But they didn't give up. They're rebuilding. And other schools across the country can do likewise. There's no excuse. I say that. There's no excuse for a school, whether it's primary school, secondary school, not to have a garden besides the school. I mean, some of them here, they live in concrete jungles, but you can put boxes and get it done. That is, I say, it's not hard to do. All it needs is for us to have the will. And that, I believe, is something we should do and encourage people to grow more, even for their own needs, and when they have surplus, they can sell. So, we meet today at a moment when food security is also a major preoccupation, serious concern for the Caribbean community and for CARICOM. You heard that in one of your presentation earlier. And recently I attended the 50th regular meeting of the CARICOM heads in St. Kitts, where food security, climate resilience, economic cooperation, South-South, and amongst the traditional means of North-South cooperation, all of these were matters on the agenda. The message from the region is clear that this decade must be a decade where we act and we not merely plan to transform our food systems. We are very good at talking in the Caribbean. We use a lot of big words when we come to conferences and meetings. But putting your hand in the soil, getting it dirty, and actually doing something, we're not so adept at it. I want in our schools, our children, from when they come in from grade 1 all the way up, they must know you ain't coming to school just to learn and to count and to read. You should come to school to learn to do things as well. Know how things are made, how they're put together. Learning new languages. Learning the importance of good financial practices. You know, expand our curriculum beyond English and history and geography and math. All very important. But for the whole rounded child, it requires more than that. And so this will all fit within the ambition that I know that the fund has, and certainly that our government promotes and will support. We have a lot to contribute to the debate in the region. We heard someone say earlier that we have been regarded as a breadbasket of the Caribbean. And we used to talk about Mespo Valley as the breadbasket of the nation. But there's so many places that you go and all you're seeing is elephant grass growing where we should be producing agricultural commodities. Why is that? You think people got lazy? It's because the producers are rational like everybody else. You're not going to want to open a business in Kingston to sell stuff, and you import them to sell them for $10 and you're going to go sell them for $5. Because that means you're going to be out of business. And that's one of the challenges our farmers face. But we need to deal with those things. We are a small country. We cannot afford the luxury of working in silos, separate, a republic unto ourselves. Rather, we must have more collaboration within ministries in government and between government and the private sector, the NGO sector, the international community. You have to put politics above. No, I shouldn't put politics above. We have to put above politics. That's the way to put it. The effectiveness and the results of cooperation within the bureaucracy and within the wider society. Yesterday, I was talking to some young people here at the SET program, and the point I was making to them is one that I think we all know, but we sometimes forget. Excuses don't solve problems. You know, excuses don't solve problems. Solutions solve problems. Many people that come to you and they tell you why they couldn't do something. Rather than saying to you, well, in my case, I tell people that, I say, listen, in my job, all I hear about is problems, problems, problems. I tell my ministers, I said, you don't be part of the problem, come to me with solutions. And the same way, I'm sure they will tell their permanent secretaries and the other persons in the ministry, we know what the problem is. Come to me with solution. Don't tell me why you haven't done it. Tell me this is how we can do it. That's how we move forward. It's not about excusing and blaming one or the other. This is an attitude that I believe that we have to have pervading our society. Too often, we tend to take these route where we say, it's not my responsibility, or even if it's my responsibility, this person didn't deliver, so therefore, I can't do my job. Find a way to get it done. The private sector and the supply chains, all of you have a part to play. This is an opportunity. It's more than that. It's an obligation, but don't see it as a burden. We want to thank our development partners in CARICOM and the FAO for the help. I want to thank all the people here who are present and those in the ministry, and most of all in the Trust Fund for their continued dedication and hard work. We have a foundation that we have built for a more resilient, more reliant, and more equitable national food system. It is a foundation which is built on the belief, the conviction that no child in this country should go to bed hungry. That no elderly person, after working all their lives, raising families, should be left behind because the children have gone away and they are finding it difficult to make ends meet. We have to be our brother's keeper. That is the St. Vincent and the Grenadines that we are building. That is the one that I think is worthy of all of our efforts, our hopes, our dreams. This is the one, this is the St. Vincent and the Grenadines that provides for our children and builds a brighter future for all of us. I want to congratulate the Zero Hunger Trust Fund. I want to congratulate Safia and your team. Thank you so much. I want to congratulate all of the partners who have been a part of this. But remember, the mission is eventually to transform the mission of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund so that we can eliminate poverty, as our goal is, eliminate hunger in this country, and that we give the fund the task of making sure that we never slip back. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you so very much, Prime Minister, for your vision and leadership as we chart a way forward for another successful 10 years for the Zero Hunger Trust Fund. And while today we celebrate 10 years, the real question is, what will the next 10 years look like? And the answer to that is what we start doing right now. So today we celebrate 10 years for Zero Hunger Trust Fund, 10 years of impact, partnership, and progress. And in a country like ours, where food is culture, where food is family, where food is serious business, the idea of zero hunger is not just important, but it has to be personal. I want to thank you for allowing me to be your Madam of Ceremonies today, but I'm going to pass on now to Ms. Veronique Williams, Senior Executive Officer of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund, to move the vote of thanks. Thank you very much.
Morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Massive Ceremonies, Ms. Shanna Brown Jacobs, the Honorable Prime Minister, Godwin Friday, Honorable Minister, Mr. Phillips, Mr. Shallow, and in the audience I'm seeing Ms. John, Mr. Sabota Caesar, our former minister. Thank you so much for being here with us. Good morning. On behalf of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Zero Hunger Trust Fund, I extend a sincere thank you to all who contributed to this morning ceremony. We thank Pastor Kane, for opening with prayers and all who took part in singing our national anthem. P.S. Good morning. Our appreciation for our CEO, Miss Safia Hornbeek, for your opening remarks. Thank you so much for that. Our distinguished speaker, Miss Stevenson Grant, Dr. Renetta Clark, and for your valuable contribution. Thank you so much. You're still online. We thank you for that. We extend thank you to our Honorable Minister, Mr. Jackson. Thank you so much for your remarks. We love what you said about the gardening. You made a valuable contribution. Mr. Shallow, thank you so much for linking how zero hunger, tourism, and how everybody needs to play their parts in the role that we have. Thank you so much for that. Our honorable presence, therefore, Mr. Godwin, our honorable Prime Minister, Godwin Friday. So thank you for your leadership, your commitment. Thank you for making such a valuable contribution and telling us where we need to be and where you're going to help us with to get for the next 5-10 years. Thank you so much for that. We're going to hold you to your promises. We also acknowledge the performance of the schools. The girls, they're gone. Thank you so much for being here. Our artists, Fire Empress, you always come, you always deliver. Thank you so much for that. The schools that are presented here tonight, this morning, you came early. I'm seeing the Leeward schools. I love that. Thank you for coming early. Technical Institute. I'm being biased. Thank you for coming. And finally, but not last of all, our partners, our stakeholders. Thank you for everybody that put together this. This is just our first session. We have more sessions coming out. You're going to break out now. But thank you. We have a tea session outside. You can go outside and enjoy yourself for a little bit, and then we'll move into our other sessions. So thank you so much for being here.